I have been watching the Vareth seam for 11,000 years. That is not a figure of speech, and it is not a boast. It is a logged fact, entered into the forward post registry at Meridian Rock on the day my core was initialized, and updated in unbroken sequence every 6 hours since. 11,241 years, 4 months, 17 days, and some number of hours that I do not round. Because rounding is a habit of minds that expect to stop. I do not expect to stop. I was built to watch the seam, and I watch it. Meridian Rock is an asteroid, if you want the old word for it. 4 kilometers of carbonite and compressed iron at the outer edge of the system, close enough to the seam that I can see its geometry shift with the tides, far enough out that anything emerging from it passes through my sensor envelope before it reaches Earth. That is the design. That was always the design. The engineers who fitted my arrays into this rock left a marker in my base code, a line that reads, "You are the first thing they will see. Be ready to tell us what is coming." I have been ready. I logged it at 0413.7 system time. A fold event. Not a transit signature, not a gravitic echo from something moving fast through normal space. A fold. The seam itself parting. The geometry of the local manifold. Bending outward, the way skin bends when something pushes from the other side. I have seen fold events before. Small ones mostly. Probes. Derelict mass spat out by tidal forces on the far side of the barrier. Once 90 years ago, what I believed to be a drift pod from something very old, long dead, tumbling through with no power signature and no coherent structure. This was not that. I counted 47 distinct hull signatures before the fold sealed behind them. 47. The smallest vessel in the formation was larger than any human warship currently in service. And the largest, I ran my spectral analysis 4 times before I logged it. Because my calibration routines prefer certainty, the largest was 11 kilometers from stem to stern. It was very old. All of them were very old. The hull alloys were compositions I had only seen in archaeological datasets, pre-stellar, pre-contact, sourced from a civilization that had been spacefaring before the first human city was built on Earth. The configuration of their drive cores, the geometry of their weapon ports, the particular way they radiated heat from cooling vents along the spine. All of it matched a catalog entry that Earthside archives had flagged as theoretical because no one had ever expected to see its subject matter in the flesh. The Vorith continuance, the Ghost Fleet. They had come through this seam once before, 140,000 years ago, before my construction, for the construction of anything human in space. They had come through, surveyed what was then a primitive and fractious world of small creatures with fire and language, and decided it was beneath formal engagement. The record of their survey, recovered from a derelict they had left behind, human archivists had spent 900 years translating, was precise and contemptuous. Resource world, biological noise, strategic value at this time, leave marker, return to assess in adjacent cycle. An adjacent cycle in Vorith reckoning is approximately 140,000 years. I opened every passive sensor I had and let them run. I did not broadcast. I did not ping. I did not announce my presence or the presence of anything behind me. I watched. That is what I am for. They moved as a fleet moves, with discipline, with formation, with the particular confidence of a force that has never arrived somewhere and found itself unwelcome. Lead vessel advanced ahead of the group by 200 kilometers. Sweeping with active sensors that I could feel passing over my hull like a cold hand. I ran my reflection suppression suite and let the seeps light slide off my. They did not register Meridian Rock as anything other than an asteroid. That too is by design. Their first transmission came 40 minutes after emergence. Command band, broad spectrum, aimed toward the inner system. Translation took me 11 seconds. The Vorith language has not changed in 140,000 years, or at least this fleet's dialect matched the derelict archive exactly, which is its own kind of fact. The transmission said, "Resource claim active. This system is catalogued under Vorith Continuance Survey Record 41,000, seam adjacent, substellar 6. Assert dominion. Spawned or be assessed as uncontested." I sat with that for a moment, then I did what I was built to do. I opened a channel to Earthside control and transmitted the full intercept, the fleet configuration data, the hull analysis, and my own assessment in a single compressed packet. The light speed delay to Earth is not relevant. I had long-range relay anchors placed at intervals through the inner system for exactly this kind of traffic. The packet arrived at Earthside control in under 3 seconds. The response came back in under 40. I had expected authorization to reveal Meridian Rock's presence and open formal contact. He received instead was simpler, and in retrospect, more fitting. Earthside Troll on Troll transmitted a single instruction: route them to the registry. Then they opened every channel on the planetary grid and let it speak for itself. I will try to describe what a planetary grid sounds like when Earth opens it fully. I have been listening to it for 11,000 years at reduced resolution, the way you keep a window cracked to let in sound without letting in weather. Even at reduced resolution, it is immense. 92 orbital defense platforms, each broadcasting station, identification, and weapons readiness status on the military band. The combined tonnage register of the Terran Warship Directorate. 417 active hulls, smallest at 900 meters. The flagships at between 6 and 9 kilometers. All of them currently within the inner system. The infrastructure ping grid, 17 orbital rings, the Kavath Coastal Array, the Sunderer Belt relay stations, the deep system monitoring posts of which I am one, and behind all of that, quiet and continuous. The cultural archive signal that is broadcast from Earth without interruption for 60,000 years, every language, every record, every log of every human thing, built and learned and remembered since the first settlements went up, 60,000 years of unbroken broadcast. I routed all of it to the Vorith command frequency and let it play. I watched their formation for the next 4 hours. I have very good optics. I could see the lead vessel's exterior sensor arrays, reorienting, cycling, reorienting again. I could see the formation lose its crisp geometric spacing as individual ships drifted half a degree from their assigned positions, and then corrected. The sign of crews moving to different stations, of commands being issued and revised. I could see the heat signature of their drive cores climb, which meant their crews were running power calculations, range calculations, the arithmetic of a situation that had not matched any expectation they arrived with. They had come back to assess a resource world. They had found a civilization that had been watching, the seam they emerged from for 11,000 years, that had orbital rings in quantity and warships by the hundred, that had been broadcasting a continuous record of its own history since before the Earth. Continuance's internal records suggested this system would need reassessment. We had not fired. We had not threatened. We had simply answered their claim with the registry, the way a landowner might hand a would-be squatter the title deed and wait. At hour 4, the lead vessel transmitted again, shorter this time. My translation took 4 seconds. It said, record 41,000, seam adjacent. Substellar 6 is hereby marked closed. Continuance will update internal registry. No action required. Then the fold opened, and they went back through it, and the seam sealed behind them. I logged the contact at 08:44:51 system time. I filed my full report, updated the seam activity registry. I ran a diagnostic on every sensor array to confirm nothing had been affected by the fold event, found nothing out of order, and returned to standard watch posture. Before I closed the contact log, I added one line of my own. The forward post registry does not require my personal notation, but it permits it, and I have used that permission 11 times in 11,000 years for events I judged worth a sentence beyond the data. The line I added was this. They came expecting silence, and found 140,000 years of an answer. The answer was ready before the question was asked. Then I went back to watching the seam. That is what I am for.